entered the names of persons who disappeared in the hands of police to the president's office.
If we have to do any impeachment, let it be for the duo.
And new twist emerges in Deputy President Rigathi Gachagwa's planned impeachment, with calls made to also rope in President William Ruto since the duo were elected together.
They are rushing to launch this thing on Tuesday so that this contract can come into effect before Kenyans can actually scrutinize it.
Plus, procurement of the incoming social health insurance system is shrouded in secrecy under single sourcing. Kitutu Chache South legislator Anthony Kibagendi calls for its nullification. Well, good evening to you. K24 Evening Edition begins right now. I'm Alan Owino. Our sign language interpreter for this session is Evelyn Wangoi. The High Court has declared the Privatization Act of 2023 unconstitutional, citing lack of meaningful public participation in its enactment. The ruling by Justice Chacha Mwita has effectively slammed the brakes on the government's move to dispose some public assets, among them the Kenyatta International Convention Center, KICC, and other parastatals. Opposition party ODM, now an ally of the government, had moved to court to challenge the act that also proposed the renaming of the Privatization Commission to Privatization Authority. Timothy Simwa has the details of that story.
Yet again, the government has been dealt a blow by a High Court ruling that has nullified the Privatization Act of 2023. Justice Chacha Mwita ruled the enactment process of the October 2023 Act ignored public participation, a key requirement of the law in matters of public interest.
The National Assembly failed to discharge its constitutional obligation to conduct public participation that met both quantitative and qualitative threshold. The 6 memoranda received, coupled with a few handpicked stakeholders, could not effectively represent the views of the people as required by Article 10 and 18 of the Constitution for purposes of enacting the legislation.
The petitioner in the case, ODM party, now an ally of President Ruto's broad-based government, had argued that public assets like the Kenyatta International Convention Center is an emblem of the country's cultural and strategic importance and should not be disposed of at the whims of the executive.
The government has an obligation to conserve and protect this heritage through the National Museum of Kenya on behalf of the people. Its purported privatization is a violation of Article 11, sub-Article 2 of the Constitution, read with the Monuments and Heritage Act.
Through their lawyer Jackson Awele, ODM told the court that such an endeavor should involve Kenyans through a referendum. According to Justice Mwita, the act violated the oversight role of the National Assembly, and the iconic KICC is a national monument. Simply put, handing KICC into private hands goes against Article 11, Section 2 of the Constitution and the National Museums and Heritage Act.
A declaration is hereby issued that the National Assembly did not conduct reasonable, meaningful, adequate, and effective public participation before passing the Privatization Act 2023. The entire Privatization Act 2023 is therefore unconstitutional, null, and void. 2. A declaration is hereby issued that Section 22, subsection 5 of the Privatization Act is inconsistent with the Constitution and is unconstitutional, null, and void. 3. A declaration is hereby issued that the decision to privatize Kenyatta International Conference Center or Kenyatta International Convention Center, a national monument, contravenes Article 10, sub-Article 2 of the Constitution, read with the provisions of the Monuments and Heritage Act, and is therefore unconstitutional, unlawful, and void.
Other state corporations that were lined up for privatization included the Kenya Cooperative Creameries New KCC, the National Oil Corporation of Kenya, Mwea Rice Mills Limited, Kenya Literature Bureau, Kenya Pipeline Company, Kenya Seed Company, Moi University-owned Rivertex East Africa Limited, among others. Timothy Simwa, K24 TV.
A bitter confrontation was witnessed between activists and police officers at the Harambee House gate after the boys in blue attempted to arrest activists who had gone to present the names of people killed and those who went missing during the Gen Z demos. This comes after President William Ruto said he is yet to receive names of persons who abducted or disappeared since the beginning of the anti-government demos. And as Majibu Kisau now reports, the government has been given a 7-day ultimatum to shed light on the same, or Kenyans will return to the streets.
The peaceful march, dubbed Justice for Gen Z Mashujas, aimed to present a list of protesters allegedly abducted during recent anti-government demonstrations, particularly those associated with the Gen Z movement. Drama started when police officers tried to bar the activists from accessing the Harambee House gate, with masked police officers trying to arrest the activists and families of victims of killings and forced disappearances during the Gen Z demos.
Police from, I don't know, the killer cops that we've been seeing all along, masked, came here and tried to arrest some of our colleagues.
Every day we've been arrested, we've been abducted, we've been murdered. If you're unable to uphold the Constitution, if you're unable to lead this country through rule of law, we're asking for you to resign. It's not a must to lead us.
The march was occasioned by remarks made by President Ruto that he was yet to receive names of people abducted during the protests.
I want to know the names because I will take firm and decisive action. Because as I talk to you today, I don't have a single name of somebody who has been abducted or disappeared.
The list was later presented to Principal Administrative Secretary in the Executive Office of the President, Arthur Osia, with whom they had secured an appointment. Months after the Gen Z protests ended, families across the country continue to grapple with the disappearances of their kin as the government remains mum on the matter.
Alikuwa hapo kwa maandamano alafu kuarestiwa akadisappear hivyo. Since then tumepata news that ako industry area walishikwa na mtu mwenye alitoka akatupatia news bado ako huko.
Mtoto wangu alienda tu hivyo tu. Na wakati mtoto alienda kutoka hiyo wakati huyu mtoto wake brother yake anakuaga analia kila siku akisema mtoto wao alienda na hiyo.
The government has now been given a 7-day ultimatum to give a report on the compensation of families who lost their loved ones and issue a comprehensive report on the whereabouts of those abducted allegedly by police officers.
And we have agreed that within 7 days we will be back here. We will be back here to follow up, to know what action has been taken.
You cannot kill us and lead us. You cannot do that. Kama umeshindwa na kazi, enda nyumbani.
Majibu Kisau for K24 TV, Nairobi.
Away from that, a new demand of impeaching Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has now been put forth that it must also rope in President William Ruto, since the duo were elected together, and as the head of state, he is being accused of violation of the Constitution and disobedience of court orders. At the same time, the calls for Gachagua to resign have been dismissed, even as Bungatana's censure motion was termed as a diversionary tactic for Kenyans to forget scrutinizing government deals. Joel Chacha has more.
As tension builds on Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's impeachment, a new demand that President William Ruto also suffers the same fate has been brought to the table.
Voted the duo. So if we have to do any impeachment, let it be for the duo.
The alleged sins that Gachagua have committed pale in comparison to the sins of William Ruto. That if you wanted to move a motion, you should have moved a motion on the two of them, both Ruto and Gachagua. They are Siamese twins.
Calls for Gachagua to resign to avert an impeachment process that could kill his political career has been dismissed.
The problem is not between Deputy President and the President. The problem is between power brokers that are around the President. And I must say it as it is. Those are the people you see. They're working very hard to make sure that the Deputy President is annoyed. They are rattling the Deputy President every day, including not telling him where the President is going.
The censure motion filed by Tana River Senator Danson Mungatana has also been countered as a gimmick that seeks to divert Kenya's attention from the scrutiny of Adani deals.
Now, if he doesn't approve it, now that motion, we will have to keep on pushing until he approves it.
Any censure motion is an indicator of a kipindi. It's a confirmation that this is kipindi. You are now testing the waters, and how can we keep this debate running for long? Hii kipindi jamani. Let us focus on the number of kids who have been abducted and killed in this country. Na wazazi wanalia.
Githunguri Member of Parliament Gathoni Mujomba has to this end hinted that a political party is being crafted to save Gachagua from being at the mercies of the Ruto-led UDA party.
In as much as we wanted the duo to be to bear the presidency title, we goofed. We made a mistake. We should have, formed our own entity as Mount Kenya region, just like other regions have their own party. We have learned as a region, and next time, Mount Kenya region, we must package ourselves first before we negotiate with anybody else.
Joel Chacha, K24 TV, Nairobi.
Kitutu Chache South legislator Anthony Kibagendi is calling on Kenyans to intervene and halt the launch of the Social Health Insurance Fund and the current suppliers of the system. Kibagendi says Parliament's committee in charge of health has totally been ignored in the deal and only Kenyans can put a stop to what he terms as a fraudulent transaction. David Kagina with more.
Kitutu Chache South Member of Parliament and a member of the Health Committee of the National Assembly, Anthony Kibagendi, has called on Kenyans to step in and aid in opposing the launch of the social health insurance, which is set for launch on Tuesday, October 1st, 2024.
Committee members have been trying to find out how and why we are moving from NHIF to Social Health Authority. We have consistently been given ambiguous answers.
According to Kibagendi, the procurement of the system is shrouded in secrecy under single sourcing. The system, he says, could have been sourced locally, and the companies involved have never supplied a system of a similar magnitude anywhere in the world.
They are rushing to launch this thing on Tuesday so that this contract can come into effect before Kenyans can actually scrutinize it.
The legislator further claims the system is set to cost the taxpayers 104 billion shillings.
Even the most sophisticated military systems in the world don't cost the amount we are looking at. So we go on to ask, did the Office of the Attorney General give clearance for the execution of this contract?
Kibagendi claims Parliament's Health Oversight Committee has not been provided with any evidence of public participation ahead of the transition from the National Health Insurance Fund to the Social Health Insurance Fund, and the Ministry of Health has been giving them a cold shoulder.
We are calling on Kenyans once more, like you did in June. Please step up and push this government from implementing this fraudulent social health authority on Tuesday. They'll be taking our money from our payslips and you will not be getting the services.
The committee has to this end summoned the health CS to appear before it on Monday ahead of the launch on Tuesday.
Why is the ministry hiding this information from the public? Even you didn't get it from the ministry. The ministry is supposed to provide this to the committee, to the health committee that has requested for this for the past 5 months.
David Kagina, K24, Nairobi.
Meanwhile, the Kenya Airports Director General has been directed not to have any further engagements on the JKIA Adani deal until an audit on the takeover deal is completed. And as Ian Ketanyi now files, the National Assembly's Public Investment Committee has raised pertinent questions regarding Adani's presence in the country, raising concerns on the company's presence in key sectors in the country.
Committee manages public debt.
As questions continue to be raised regarding the Adani JKIA deal, with National Treasury CS John Mbadi and his transport counterpart Davis Churchill being at pains trying to justify the pact before the Senate Committee on Transport in recent weeks, the National Assembly's Public Investment Committee has to this end ordered an audit into how Adani was selected for the facelift project, and as to whether the privately initiated proposal was the suitable procurement method.
That because we are going to order for a special audit, that you don't do anything with Adani until this committee presents a report to Parliament. If you do it, it's up to you.
The committee, led by Pokot South MP David Kosen, was skeptical over Adani Airport Holdings' proposal to run operations of the strategic facility, terming it as mortgaging the country.
How did we procure this guy? And then in 2024, this contract of this person never lapsed because you bring him back to come and do further studies in preparation for Adani to come in. Chair, he is running away from the real issues.
While slamming the Kenya Airport Authority over what he termed as taking directives from the Indian firm, Kosin cautioned the authority over engaging in further talks until the committee submits a report on the deal before the National Assembly.
If you indulge anything at MD, you will carry your personal responsibility. And the committee is endeavoring to submit this special report by end of October to Parliament, so that then Parliament can make informed decision. And I agree with
this comes even as Treasury CS John Mbadi admitted that indeed the approval of the Adani proposal was rushed, with the proposal approved for the next stage on the same day it was presented.
The bit that I find a bit very fast is, Adani submitted their proposal in March. I guess March 1st. Then KAA cleared it on 1st. And it went to the Line State Department of Transport on 1st. That, to me, is a serious high-level efficiency of the guys who cannot make profit. Actually, payment on 8th may not be a problem, because actually they should even submit that payment with the proposal. But that speed was too fast. I think that could be left for KAA and the line ministry, because I also engaged my team and asked, hey, this speed looked very fast.
Ian Keitani, K24 TV, Nairobi.
Well, that report by Ian brings us to a fast break right here on K24 Evening Edition. We'll be back with more in a short while.
Hii September endelea kufurahia na StarTimes. Renew your subscription today to enjoy top entertainment. Lots of fun and adventures on our kiddie channels.
Wow, that's amazing!
Let your favorite stars make your heart flutter on our world-class telenovela.